You may be about to receive the largest tax refund you've ever gotten in history, but it may be coming to you later than you expect. In mid-2025, the IRS lost 30% of its workforce as part of a larger effort by the federal government to start finding cost-cutting measures. Now, most of that 30% of employees, about 30,000 employees in total, were actually skilled IRS revenue agents. These are the people who are responsible for not only investigating your tax return, but also finding all the fraudulent activity out there that's stealing your taxpayer dollars. And now in 2026, IRS is not only struggling under a loss of 30,000 employees, it's also struggling because it has had a massive loss in leadership. The modern IRS is led by someone called an IRS commissioner, and the commissioner stays in their position for long periods of time to ensure that there's continuity in government. But our current IRS has actually seen 5 different commissioners in the last 18 months. And unlike some of the other turnover that we see in the Trump administration, this constant changing of seats has nothing to do with Donald Trump firing people he doesn't like. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. People that Trump is appointing to the position are voluntarily resigning and seeking early retirement. If you're wondering why a seasoned IRS career internal revenue officer would choose to voluntarily resign after getting the top post at IRS, you're asking the right question. And the answer is that the IRS has been asked to share taxpayer information broader and wider than ever before. As the 2025 tax season wrapped up, the Trump administration reached out to IRS and asked them to begin sharing detailed tax documentation with immigration officers in an effort to help expand the policing effort of ICE agents all over the United States. This is not only something that the IRS has never done before, but it's something that caused an ethical divide among IRS agents because the Internal Revenue Service falls under the Department of Treasury. It has nothing to do with the Department of Justice, and law enforcement is a function of the Department of Justice, irregardless of whether or not you agree with what ICE is doing or not. So as career Internal Revenue officers were put into the position of commissioner and tasked with this wholesale sharing of taxpayer data, they started to resign. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different resignations within just a few months. So that means that now in 2026, your 2025 tax return is actually going to be processed by an IRS without a commissioner. At best, it's being loosely overseen by the current U.S. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. The reality is that chaos has crippled many of the core functions that you and I rely on at IRS to process our tax returns every year. Let me give you a quick personal story just to share how this is impacting me in my business and my life. Recently, I got a phone call from my own accountant as we were processing my 2025 taxes, and my accountant told me that my online filing had been rejected specifically because my 13-year-old son had been flagged by the IRS's current automated system as an adult requiring his own individual tax return. My son is 13 years old. He has never had a job. He has never generated income. So I know for a fact he does not require a tax return. So my accountant and I set up an appointment to talk to the IRS directly, and we found out that not only had this happened to me, but it had happened to tens of thousands of other American families, where children, minors, had been flagged as adults requiring their own individual tax return. Now, it's just an administrative glitch, but it's a glitch that can't be fixed because the people who fixed those glitches were fired last year from IRS. So now for me and tens of thousands of other American families who will also find out, like I did, that they are ineligible to file online, we must complete physical paper returns, actual paper returns that we sign in ink and then FedEx to the IRS. And those physical paper returns have to go through a physical investigation process with a physical officer who then validates that our minor is in fact an actual minor and not responsible for their own independent tax return. Now, this is crazy to me because it seems like such a simple thing, and having been on the other side of government, I know how inefficient government can be, but I also know how much that inefficiency is amplified when you don't have enough people doing the job. And every tax season, IRS is accustomed to hiring thousands, tens of thousands of temporary employees. But They're used to doing that when they already have 30,000 extra of their own employees, and that is something that doesn't exist this year. These staffing cuts are not only impacting me, but they are also going to impact you. From delayed tax returns to delayed tax extensions, all the way down to automated system errors like the one that's going to affect me and tens of thousands of other American parents who are also trying to pay their taxes this year. But let's be honest, tax delays are not something that voters remember, but tax refunds are, and that is certainly something that the Trump administration is counting on as it gets ready to go into one of the most divisive and contentious midterm elections in history. In fact, Donald Trump himself even says, remember this when you go and vote, meaning remember your tax refund, remember the big beautiful bill, and remember that it was the Trump administration and a red government, conservative government, that helped get it to you. So what are some of the specific tax elements that are going to increase your tax refund this year? Let me give you just a few of them in very basic terms. First, a series of new deductions and new credits have been added, many of them actually being retroactively applied all the way to the beginning of 2025. That means you, your personal accountant, your company accountant are going to be able to adjust your withholdings and change the amount of income that you have to claim. Now, the majority of people who file their taxes in the US, about 80%, actually report their earnings on a W-2, and the IRS is expecting about 164 million tax returns to be submitted before the deadline on April 14th, with another 20 million to be reported thereafter as part of an extension period. Now, for that population of 180 million individual filings, the average tax refund is expected to be about $3,800, up from $3,200 last year. That's a $600 difference that comes from one beautiful bill. And while you and I may not understand the tax law behind it, we do have very simple tools that are coming in to help us increase that tax refund and reduce that taxable income. One of the biggest impacts to your 2025 return is something called a SALT deduction, S-A-L-T, state and local tax deduction. This is a deduction where you can actually take taxes that were paid to your state and deduct it from your federal income tax, thereby reducing your overall federal income tax requirement. And that SALT deduction quadrupled in 2024, meaning you can deduct up to $40,000 in the taxes that you pay to your home state away from your federal tax return. A second reality that's going to boost your 2025 tax return is that the big beautiful bill did not adjust withholding tables. So if you overpaid taxes last year in 2024, then it's very likely that you overpaid by even more in 2025. So even if nothing changed in your paycheck and nothing changed in your expenses, you will still see a larger tax refund this year. In addition to these two major changes that are going to impact your bottom line, you're also going to see a 12% increase in the standard federal deduction, a 10% increase in the child tax credit, and for senior citizens over the age of 65, they have a new deduction that protects $6,000 per person in non-taxable federal income. So as you get ready for this refund windfall, albeit slightly late this tax season, you should also be thinking about what you can be doing now to prepare for when you have to submit your 2026 taxes next year. And one of the best tools I've found to help shelter and protect against overpaying taxes is something called Trust IRA. Trust IRA is a government-approved retirement tool that allows you to move your retirement holdings away from the falling US dollar and into the fast-rising cryptocurrency marketplace. Rather than rely on human beings to selectively manage your retirement accounts, Trust IRA uses a proprietary AI-generated model, a platform that actually handles those trades for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without holidays or weekends. And that's exactly why Trust IRA outperforms the standard buy and hold strategy that is most likely being used by the person currently managing your retirement account. Trust AI's platform is a constantly dedicated and vigilant agent that's making the right trades at the right time, maximizing your return, minimizing your risk, and bypassing all of the traditional cryptocurrency risk that you read about in headlines every day. Trust IRA is a tool that allows you to maximize your returns and minimize your risk so that you can stay focused on saving for your own retirement. And that's exactly why Trust IRA has been voted the #1 crypto technology platform by a group of more than 1,500 of its own competitors. The numbers show that this is a technology that works not just because Trust IRA has has outperformed the stock market, but also because it has outperformed Bitcoin itself by more than 250% since 2020. My favorite thing about Trust IRA is that it's a highly secure platform, backed by more than $200 million in institutional insurance, complete with military-grade information protocols. If Trust IRA sounds like the right next step for your retirement planning, I've arranged for you to receive $2,500 in bonus funding added to your Trust IRA account just because you watched this video. All you have to do is click on the top link in the description below or visit edscrypto.com to claim your $2,500 bonus Bitcoin funding. You may be about to receive the largest tax refund you've ever received. And when you pair that up with the fact that crypto made 80,000 new millionaires last year, you should be asking yourself whether 2026 becomes the year that you could be one of those newly minted millionaires. It's not about luck. It's about having better intelligence than anyone else. So click on the description below or visit edscrypto.com now to claim your $2,500 bonus crypto funding and sign up for Trust IRA. I'll see you on the other side.